um go point. um Compassionate, empathetic, overly caring women who do feel the draw to supporting women at the stage in their life. um it's it's a very common struggle, figuring out sympathy versus empathy, and it's very hard for the type of compassionate women that we are, that want to serve women in this capacity. It's hard figuring out the difference within ourselves, and it's hard seeing where those lines are. But what I can tell you is that, and I'm sure my twinsy agrees with me, is that midwives that aren't able to find the difference in themselves, or see where those boundaries are within themselves, crash and burn. Crash and burn. Um, because by nature we are those types of people, and we don't want, we would rather fix it for other people, other women, to not go through the same things, than in some ways like prioritizing helping ourselves with those. And I know I've wives that really struggle with that, and not only do they crash and burn, but they actually in some ways do a really big disservice in the women that they serve. So that's why we felt like this first unit being self-knowledge was so important. And understanding that difference where our sympathy and empathy is in ourselves, that's a topic that will be continuously developing over these next 2.5 years together. And it it really helps you understand yourself better, but it also really helps you understand your capacities as a midwife. And the more I understood that about myself, the more I understand there are some women that I'm not the best choice for. I'm not the best choice for women who are very deep in their emotions over pregnancy losses. And it's not because I haven't experienced my own. Okay. I can have a lot of sympathy for them, because I have the knowledge to support them, and I have those personal experiences as a woman, as a mother. But I don't get lost in the empathy. If they need someone to sit on the couch and cry with them every visit, I'm not their best choice. I'm not. If that's the kind of support they need, that overly empathizing, they're not going to be fulfilled by how I can serve them and how I can support them. And I have been called cold and heartless in that capacity too. Why I can't support her in how she feels like she wants to be supported. So I know that about myself. I know that that's a very strong sympathy versus empathy line for me. And it's very confusing for a lot of midwives, because I do have those personal experiences as a mom, as a woman, losing pregnancies, and also having a full term stillbirth. And like, well, you should understand, and you should do better about it. And it's like, but I know myself that I can't. So why would I lie to her? You know. And compartmentalizing. We talked about it a little bit in our course description, but that's a really huge skill. And I've not seen it taught anywhere, especially in rural midwifery. Sometimes we're in situations where we don't get the time to decompress. I drove from one birth where I was not able to resolve a shoulder dystocia. I was not able to successfully resuscitate a baby. And I drove straight to another birth. And how unfair or how much of a disservice would it have been to that second mom if I was not able to compartmentalize that birth that I walked out of? And that being confident in ourselves, there's a part of midwifery that is having your own infomercial, the consults, and knowing yourself, and being able to talk about the things you've done, and the things that so those are all of our motivations as to why we're pushing you in the deep end right off the bat.
And I want to add, if I may, part of the reason why I gave so much time to a lesson that maybe seems kind of easy is because it's not. To be really brutally honest with yourself and to learn how to, own what's yours to own. Okay, so that's sympathy versus empathy. Sometimes I can have a mom who is not happy with an outcome, and she's unhappy with something that I did or didn't do, or whatever the case may be. I have to own what's mine to own. If what they're upset about is actually a reflection of something that I did, then I need to address that. And I need to say, oh, this person pointed something out in me and pointed out a flaw, or I failed them in some way here. But if I know that I didn't, if I know that I gave them comparable, capable care, and they still want to go badmouth me to everybody on the planet, I have to own what's mine to own. I can understand that they're upset about something, but I don't have to take culpability for it. And I think that when you choose to become a traditional midwife, and when you don't have the bumpers of licensing and the safety net of licensing and the plausible deniability of licensing, when you're choosing to step off the cliff, that every single decision that you women make with birthers is, you are going to be fully responsible for it. And that should absolutely 100% terrify you. It should. And so to really understand, what is it? Is it confidence? Is it overthinking? Is it having a very emotive spirit, an empathetic kind of personality? You can serve women with all of those things. That's what peer review is for. That's what building a team is for. Like, all of those things can be addressed. What we want you to do in this first lesson, because it's going to get harder from here, so pull your panties up, that we want you to really be honest in those moments. And we want you to really be able to understand that vulnerability and that intimacy about yourself. I think that many of us come from situations that have been very hard, not easy dinner conversation. It's things that we don't always acknowledge, because there's this idea of, well, my trauma was worse than hers, but not as bad as hers, so I can't really say anything. I don't have anything to contribute. I think that part of the open reflection is realizing that there actually are a lot of similarities, even though we have very different backgrounds, and coming from a place of realizing that none of those things have to affect you as a midwife, and none of those things have to influence you as a midwife. And there is a bit of self-mastery that comes with rural traditional midwifery, because you are the only one responsible for that. I recently left a woman who had a breech baby. I left her while she was pushing, literally left her house, guys, while she was pushing just a few days ago. I called in a backup midwife because I had a woman in another area that I didn't have backup. And these were things that were universally understood by all of us. It still didn't feel good to leave her. Even though I talked with her on July 2nd about this issue, and on July 5th, I had to go. And those are the kind of calls you're going to have to make. If I had gone to that next birth feeling guilty, beating myself up over the decisions that the four of us made as a team, I would not have been able to adequately serve the woman in the other area who was a long-standing resuscitation, a baby with a heart defect. Like that family needed me at my absolute best. They didn't need me bringing in this train wreck of garbage from a 3-day birth that I didn't even get to see through. And those are the types of things that we want you guys to understand. I'm a seasoned midwife, and I left a gal while she was pushing with a breech baby. And ultimately, I felt bad, but I didn't feel guilty. I felt bad that it went down that way, but I didn't feel guilty for leaving her. I left her in adequate care. I got all the consents and the informed decision making and all the buzzwords. I covered all of those bases. But it didn't mean that it didn't suck any less. But what Jane's talking about is that compartmentalization. You have to be able to do that. You have to figure out how to do that. And if you don't have a self-knowledge about yourself, a self-awareness, that self-mastery, or the capability to be able to do that, the capacity, you're going to struggle. And that's something that if we could change those things for you guys early on, that's one of our overreaching goals.
Any questions or thoughts about where we're at?
I don't have a question, but just like a comment to kind of add into what you're saying.
Mhm.
The way that it works in my brain to think about it is that anytime that you walk in to be with a woman or a family or whatever it is that you're walking into, like you stand outside, whatever the threshold is, like for my brain, I always imagine like I'm standing at their front door, right before I walk in, and you like drop all that, everything else, whatever birth that you just left or the birth that you were at 6 months ago or what's going on in your personal life that day, you like drop that at the door and you walk in clean. And clean is like my favorite way to explain it. Just I'm walking in with I've cleared any whatever emotional stuff I had going on and whatever mental stuff is going on, and you clean that at the door and you walk in clean.
Mhm.
I don't know, that helps me, and I don't know if maybe it helps anybody else. So
Yep. But then part of the compartmentalizing too is having a time when you can sift through it again. Because if you just keep boxing and shoving it away and boxing, shoving it away and boxing, shoving it away, that's a whole different kind of burnout too. So you're absolutely right. Leaving it all at the door, and I'm sure we've all heard of that at some point in different trainings or whatever situations. And it's true, and that's a good mental way of picturing it. It takes on a different meaning, a different weight when it's situations where it's literally life and death. But I'm not saying it doesn't make that any less true. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So So in the essays, we were talking about ideology, bias, baggage, and a little bit underlying implications of, figuring out what our hard lines are. Okay. And there's in what midwifery has kind of been created into being right now, hopefully it changes. It's definitely not as true in rural midwifery as it is so much in the CPM world. This us versus them mentality, the hospital versus the medical system versus us. The implication that we have an ideology or bias or baggage or hard lines has a lot of negative connotations to it. Okay. And I disagree with that. I think we all should have ideology. I think we all do have bias. I think we all have baggage, and we all should have hard lines. And they'll change. And part of knowing ourselves is knowing where we fall in all of these, because there's a lot of subtleties between a lot of them. For those of you who might have done a lot of doula work and seen a lot of hospital births, it's sometimes it's just about the wordsmithing, and the more you notice it or watch the subtleties in it, and you see how hospital staffs or doctors, are kind of subtle with it, kind of subtle with the wordsmithing. So we're going to go back into what some of the essay questions were about examining our ideologies, our bias, our baggages, and how those help us define and figure out what our hard lines are, and how all of them are stuff that we should continuously be re-examining. In the 10 years that I've been supporting births as a midwife, they're totally different than my very first one. My very first 10 look completely different than my last 10. And if we keep having this hardness towards them, or this bias, or not bias, but this prejudice of you can't have a bias to your home birth midwife, or you got to deal with your baggage, like don't carry anything around with you. Well, my baggage has taught me a lot, and it shaped me into how I practice now. And right now, my baggage is very comfortable. Maybe in 5 years, I need to re-examine it and see what still serves me, see what's still functional for me, and see what I haven't used in a very long time and leave it away. So let's start. Ideologies. Okay, computer, next slide. There we go. Okay, a system of ideas and ideals, right? It's best when. With X, Y, and Z, this is what I recommend, okay? Based on your education, based on your knowledge, and due to my ideology, I'm recommending this. Jump in, Twinsy, whenever you want.
So I would say,
yeah,
I would say we all have these 4 things, right? When you're looking at ideology, we absolutely have an ideology. We have an ideology to support home birth. I don't support community birth or out of hospital birth. I don't use language that is, to me, intrinsically degrading or denigrating to home birth as a structure. Like, people will ask me, are you a community midwife? And I'm like, no, not unless the community is your apartment. And they're shocked by that, because that's some of the new supported language, right? When we're talking about home birth specifically, people will say, oh, I'm an out of hospital midwife, as if the hospital is the safest, best place, and I'm just over here on the fringe doing home birth, right? So I do have an ideology about that. I do carry that ideology about that. I do have situations where I recommend very, very specific diet ideology,
Mhm.
right? Those are things that, or food bias, right? I have a food bias for high protein, high fat diets,
Yep.
right?
So
Baggage, you know, I have my first child was a 42-week stillbirth. I have baggage from that. How I've translated that into pregnancies and into midwifery is I thank every single baby for sharing their first breath with me because I didn't get my baby's first breath. That is a baggage. That's a past experience that I bring into every single birth. And I feel like I've been able to turn it into something beautiful, into sharing these first breaths with these babies, but it is absolutely baggage. It's
Yep.
absolutely baggage that I carry. Hard lines. I do have a lot of hard lines. People are surprised about that. But I tell people, lose a mom, lose some babies, and you'll find how fast those lines that you thought you could stay in between, that those become hard lines.
Yep.
And there are things that if midwives tell you that they don't have any of these things, then I think there's that self-reflection, and their early time of midwifery was not done very well, because we can say, here are these 4 words that, like Jane was talking about, have this really negative connotation, but I just made 4 positive things
Mhm.
to utilize those in supporting families. So
Yep.
I'm curious what your
When
guys' thoughts are, and if you held the same kind of negative connotations of those things, or if, like my twin and I, you see those as you know, necessary parts of the midwifery self.
when I was first starting out as a midwife, I was absolutely convinced that there was almost no reason, no necessary reason to manage 4-stage. And what that means is the placenta. Manage the birthing of the placenta. Because of my baggage, because of my personal experience with my first child, who was born in the hospital, and I had the standard, kneading the bread,
Active management.
nurse knife hands on my sensitive uterus, as a 20-year-old first time mom, and I almost kicked her in the face, tugging on the cord, knife in the uterus, tugging on the cord, knife in the uterus. And then I was discharged, and I was told that everything's fine, everything was there, little bit, you're gonna have a little bit of bleeding. But I had very heavy bleeding for 5 days, and then all of a sudden I had this big, huge black glob of something fall out of me in the shower at 3 o'clock in the morning. I thought my uterus fell out. And here it was, and I'm struggling nursing because my milk's not coming in because half my placenta is still in my body. My husband and I, we're both in our undergraduate. We don't know what the heck is going on. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't want to wake up to drive me to the hospital. He'll stay home with the baby. So I'm supposed to go by myself. I literally pick up this black glob, put it in a Ziploc bag, and take myself to the hospital to find out that I have a uterine infection because they left half my placenta in me. So fast forward to a new midwife, and I thought it was an ideology, but it was purely baggage. There's no reason to actively manage 4-stage to that degree. Well, that was a very pretty bag until I was in a situation where I had to actively manage a 4-stage because it was 5 hours later and the placenta wasn't coming out yet. And then it turned into a bias. And I carried it as a bias for a while. And now it's somewhere in the mess of the ideologies. Yeah, it's cool when it happens, but there's things that you can do. And about an hour about an hour tops, and then let's start doing things. You know, any of these come up for you guys that you want to share in your essays, or?
For myself, like, as you kind of just said, like setting those hard lines, and I think bias gets a negative connotation, but I don't think bias is a bad thing, as long, like, you should be making your bias known to people.
Mhm.
Because that, and you should be setting those hard lines, because I mean, I don't want to tell anybody what they should do, but I think bias is bad if you try to pretend that you don't have bias, because your bias is going to show up regardless, and trying to keep
Mhm.
that stuff down inside of you, like, then you're not going to act appropriately, because you're like, oh, well, I told them that I do XYZ, but I'm really not comfortable with X or Y. So
Mhm.
I don't think any of that stuff is bad, but also making it known that this is my ideology, this is my bias, this is where I'm coming from on this is why I have this baggage. These are the lines that I won't cross.
Mhm. Yeah, and you should examine, and you should develop an ideology and a bias, and you actually, you know, should develop hard lines. And maybe your hard line is that you don't have any hard lines. You know, I know midwives that kind of operate like that. We'll get into more of that later, I'm sure. Oh, I just had a good bias in my mind. Shoots. Oh, I have a bias. I have a bias against um uh lotus birth. I have a bias. And I'll actually not stay. I'll not stick around for them, I guess. We have I know I share a bias with my twinsy about placental encapsulation.
I was just about to say that.
Yep. You know, so, and that's a very unpopular bias for midwives. But I guess it's kind of becoming a little bit more common, or maybe they're just starting to speak up about it. But yeah, I mean, those are all things that in the conversations of prenatals, it's part of my ideology of how I care, provide care. There's things that are hard lines that I won't support. There's things that have wiggle room on both sides, either some wiggle room on my side or some wiggle room on the family side. And then, you know, there's kind of like a standard ideology. You know, my standard ideology is I don't rupture waters. Have I done it? Yes. Have I been in situations where I thought it was a good choice for what was going on in that particular situation? Yep. But my standard ideology is it's not something that I do. Okay. So these are all really common, pretty or quite in as a midwife. Probably most of them pretty early on in your career. So let's take them. Anybody for VBACs? Either ideology, bias, hardline, or baggage, piece of baggage from personal experience. Maybe as a doula or as a friend of an unassisted birther, you know, you saw something that you're carrying with you. Anybody want to share? What's an ideology about VBAC or bias that you know you have right now?
I can share for me. My first baby was a cesarean. I was young, didn't know any better, and that's how she was born, and it was great. But after her, my second two, I had in a hospital, but naturally. Well, not naturally because I was there and there were things, but I didn't have cesarean. So have always been, I mean, I don't understand why you would have continuous C-sections because you don't need to. Now, that being said, I am assisting my first home birth VBAC within the next couple weeks. And I'm a little nervous about it because now it's, you feel like it's on you. Like, I don't know. So I'm curious as to how it's going to come out, but I feel really confident that it's going to be great. But there's still this little thing inside of me that just what society says about it. Like, what if something does happen? I don't know.
So would you agree that you have both an ideology baggage and a hard line
All
in
of
your
it.
idea that you don't think my sister had 3 consecutive cesareans by choice, right? She knew she could be back and she still chose with her, her sister's a home birth midwife. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that was the right call for their family, right? So how do you translate that to maybe somebody that now is approaching you for a VBAC and they've had maybe multiple cesareans?
Yep. It is a multiple cesareans, and now she wants to have her VBAC, and it's going to be great. I have my own daughter that had a cesarean, her first baby, and it was a more of emotional trauma. She was attacked by a superior officer when she was in the Navy. And there was a lot of things that came out during her labor. And when it came to delivery time, she wouldn't do it. She just panicked and she was in the hospital. They gave her a C-section. She's due the end of August and she's choosing to have another one. Working through that for me as her mom, like I feel like sometimes if she had this baby naturally, she would work through that and empower herself and know that she's powerful and can break through that. But she's not ready. She's not there. She's like, I can't do it. I'm just scheduling my C-section and having this baby. I want my baby, but I can't do that. So I struggle with my own thoughts. Like I worry about her health and her safety because it's not as safe to have multiple. And there again, it goes back to my words. Like, does she not believe that I know what I'm talking about when I tell her that? And I don't know. So the VBAC thing, I do have a lot of ideologies, hard lines, bias, and baggage, all of it. I have it all.
I got it all.
What about
Jesse.
twins or breech for anybody? Since we all came together in the breech and twinsy. Right. Anybody
I'll share. I have a hard line for breech. I do not love breech that starts in the oblique of any type. If your baby is complete breech in the oblique, if your baby is frank breech in the oblique, I have some very hard lines about how I'm going to support that moving forward. And or I had a gal that was a primate breech. They ended up going in for a cesarean, and I ended up believing that that was the best call that they could make, not because I didn't think that she could push out a breech baby, but because she had cystic fibrosis. I worried about her stamina. That baby's head was bumping up against her lungs for 5 weeks. And so that was a hard line for us. And that was an ideology of, does every woman that want to have a home birth, does she deserve one?
That's
those
pretty
are things that, yeah.
Yep. And is it okay for us to say that? To say no, like, You
Or
know,
to
that's,
support the call for a C-section.
yeah, yep.
Does it make you a bad midwife to say that was a great call?
Mhm.
Especially when the bulk of your business is hospital, is home birth, is not going to a hospital and having your baby at home. You know, is it a juxtaposition to be in a place where you can look at a call and say, this was a good call? Can you do that as a brand new midwife? Are you going to internalize that as a quote home birth fail? Do you
Mhm.
believe that home birth failure exists? These are the types of things that we want you guys to explore and to be willing to share, because there's no right or wrong answer.
Oh.
There really isn't. I got a lot of flack in the midwifery community for supporting that girl going in and having a C-section and not a trial of labor and not in anything. It was ultimately what the family wanted as well. That was where they were leaning. But I didn't try to convince them otherwise. When they brought the conversation to me, is that they felt that a C-section was going to be the very best call that they could make. I didn't try to convince them otherwise. I said, yeah, I agree with you. I think a C-section is going to be a great call here and the most appropriate for what we're facing.
Or
And
situations.
she's pregnant again and has hired me again. So, I mean, clearly she was not bothered by my answer.
Mhm. Or situations when it's the husband that is given the quote unquote final decision. You know, being in that kind of situation where, you know, now what's supposed to be the midwife's hard line is, you know, you didn't support her autonomous choice, you let her husband decide for her. Well, them as a couple, that's their dynamic and that's their agreement, and who am I to say that that's wrong for them? You know, I mean, there's the situations that we actually don't think we're going to run into as new midwives are the ones that I don't know, really challenge our ideologies, and then what we thought were ideologies we realized were bias or ideology that was based off of baggage, you know, and that's arguably what you run into the most at the hospitals. Medical ideology that's based off of experience, situations, baggage, trauma, bias. You know, this study said this study said that, therefore I'm only going to do this now. Right. Anybody else on VBAC, twins, and breech that you feel like comfortable sharing if you know you already have?
And we want to get to know you guys, so don't let our call just be us talking.
It's a party bus. Let's have a party. Hey. Yeah, jump in, guys. Jump in if you want to jump in. You know, and this is where building the confidence too. You know, we're really gonna do our best to structure a lot of these like peer review calls, so you're used to that style, and if you ever choose to jump into them, which we might push you towards the end, you know, like I said, we're really trying to model this out of based on functional midwifery, like how we're already functioning as midwives. So I have a baggage. I have a baggage with twins. Teeny was a twin. Her brother did not stay. And I still have a piece of baggage when I attended my last twin birth that I attended. I was mad and I was jealous because I felt like this mom didn't take care of herself very well.
all.
And I had a piece of baggage that her twins stayed, and I did so much and I took care of myself so well, and mine didn't. And I didn't realize that I had that baggage until I was giving that mom postpartum care.
And part of that, and part of building as a team, is that I had picked up on that and told Jane to go home, that I would take over the rest of the care. So it's important to know the people that you work with and to be able to brutally tell the truth, and to be able to look at someone and they don't have to actually say it to you in order for you to get it. You know, I had a baggage with my own child. My first baby was a term stillbirth. It had been prophesied over my family that that baby was going to return to my son and my daughter-in-law. I caught that baby. And there was a moment where I said to myself, you picked them over me? That's real. That's real, you guys. And I had a choice to make in that moment, that I could be angry or I could abide. And when you look at the pictures of that birth, that baby is looking at me. And that baby shared her first breath with me to heal something inside of me that I didn't get. But there was a moment where I'm holding her and my daughter-in-law is bleeding out, where I thought, you chose them over me. You waited 30 years to be born, to come back to me through them. Those are the lines that you're gonna come across within yourself. And they're ones that it's a safe place to examine when you're in this program. To hopefully give you some skills so that you maybe don't do what I did, and you have a moment where you pause. And luckily Jane was there, and Jane started calling time to kind of get me out of my own head and to remind me that I actually had a job to do. Now, nobody else in the room knew that that exchange was happening between her and I. But she knew, because she knew me. And that's why it's so important to have somebody, anybody, that you can have these honest reflections with. Because you never know when you are going to need them.
So 2VC, 2-vessel cord. The umbilical cord is physiologically supposed to have 3 vessels, 2 arteries and a vein. And in a 2VC, that's a hard line for me. If it's known, I will not encourage them to have a home birth. If it is discovered in birth because they did not have an anatomy scan, I will encourage them to transfer for care. And because there's more going on than we could possibly know or be able to test or support. And we'll get to more of what that all means in more of the didactic units. But if that particular structure is compromised in that particular way, it's almost always reflective that there is a structural concern with either the baby's heart or their lungs. And that is not something that we have diagnostic abilities for in the home birth setting. And that is not a situation that I will be a part of I will recuse myself if the family makes the choice, and it's happened, of well, we just accept God's plan, and however long the baby stays is, how it's supposed to go. That is a situation that I've recused myself of, and I had to examine myself if that was hypocritical. Because in some ways I made similar choices. I stayed home with my twin that didn't stay, you know. And I had to examine that really hard about myself. I made the same choice, but I'm not willing to provide care for a woman making the same choice for herself. And right now my hard line is yes, and that's okay, because I'm in a care provider role, and that's actually something in an unregulated state that I could get in a lot of trouble for, and it's not worth being in jail away from my babies over that. She can make her choice for herself. I won't report her. I won't do anything, but that's not something that I can, for now. Maybe it'll change. I don't know. But for now, who I am right now, that is a situation that I'll recuse myself of.
And likewise for me on the 2VC, I will support you in the hospital, but I will not support you at home.
Okay. Any thoughts or reflections or sharing so far? The last three are situations that, as rural midwives, and especially as traditional midwives in tribal communities on reservations, like, we see a lot of this, and those are gonna have to be deep dives and deep reflections of, to what degree is your capacity physically to support, or emotionally. I think that it is very valid for hard lines to be based on emotional things too.
And I have an experiential hard line with known substance abuse, because my own son has full-blown fetal alcohol syndrome and fetal drug effect. And he would have had a chance at a somewhat, quote unquote, normal life had our birth mother been able to stay clean. And he is severely affected, severely. And I have a hard time knowing what I've gone through as his parent, knowing how helpless I felt when he struggled, knowing that there's no cure, there's no therapy, there's no medication I can give him that is going to change that outlook for his life. I have a hard time with women who knowingly will use while they're pregnant. And my hat's off to other women that can provide care to them and can be ethical and can be kind and can be loving and kind of meet them where they are. But because I have personal experience with the outcome of those pregnancies, one in which my birth mother never saw this child besides having him. Never. She never laid eyes on him. And so there is hard lines, ideology, baggage, all those things wrapped up in that. Now, in the same breath, I am supporting someone who is on Suboxone. Is that hypocritical of me? Some people would say yes. But this is a woman who is making attempts to remain clean, who is not riding the lightning every day, who is taking accountability, who is taking her inventory. And so in some ways, I've justified my care for her. Those are not always easy things to talk about with other midwives, especially young midwives, because they're like, oh my gosh, you're such a hypocrite. But chances are This baby is not going to have neonatal abstinence syndrome. This baby is going to have no lifelong effect from Suboxone effect. And so, can you make those determinations within the level of your care? Are you honest with yourself about what that looks like? My daughter has a foster son right now who has fetal alcohol effect. He just barely a couple of days ago found out how that occurs. His mom has passed away. But he met my son and he said to my daughter, well, he must have used a whole lot more than my mom did, because he's a whole lot more messed up than me. So for another child to recognize the severity in another child was heartbreaking for us. But he used it as a justification to not have hard feelings towards his mom who had passed. And we told him that, you know, when people make those kinds of choices, they're not actually in their right mind. And that when we're in our most sane self, our most healthy self, we don't get pregnant in these situations, you know. And so, you know, here on the reservation, you know, thankfully, I've not come across anybody that's been a known substance user aside from cannabis. But I've yet to have to tell a woman no for her alcohol or other substances, you know. And there may be somebody that doesn't have the same, you know, 30 years of heartache to apply to that. And there is an ideology behind, she still deserves care. Her baby still deserves care. But I know I am not the best midwife to be able to give that to her. And I can do so, and I can recuse myself in a way that is not demeaning. And that comes from years of midwifery experience and years of keeping your ego out of that. I don't have to support every person that reaches out to me. But when you guys are new midwives, I'll put $1,000 that every one of you is going to want to. You're not going to want to say no to anybody. You're not going to want to say no.
I'd like to share a little bit about that subject, about known substance use. In my current position that I've been in for the last almost 7 years this fall, I was initially hired to be a birth helper to First Nation women, but it quickly became a position of child welfare advocacy. And I would say I support about 100 families a year in different capacities. And I would say 95% of my families have known substance use in some way, prescription or just some capacity. And it wasn't until there were situations where it was, I guess, probably as of late, the last year or so, where it was becoming a moral dilemma, where I was seeing this more and more, because my organization represents 62 of the 63 First Nations and communities in Manitoba, in my province. So it's a wide, I guess, almost all First Nation women who are in the urban setting. But in the past year, it was really morally, I guess, for me, having to carry some of my own personal feelings of sympathy or empathy for the families, for the mother, for the child, because I see the struggle. We kind of have like an ongoing support system, and a lot of these moms want to be good moms, of course. Want to, when I say good, they want, you know, their secondary addiction use. However, there was instances where, like, I've had moms who came in for our support, and usually it's in you know, anywhere from 2 months to 2 hours to 2 minutes before the delivering. But I had moms where they would give birth and not know they're giving birth because they were so um, into their, I guess, psychosis, drug psychosis. And I would have to hear, I wouldn't be there, but they would either be calling me before, during, or after, where, yeah, like, oh, I just gave birth. I didn't know I was giving birth. I was standing outside a hotel room and my baby fell out, type of thing. That's
Mm.
what one mom had called most recently. Um, I am thankful that my supervisor is in a position now where she can understand I have to make those calls of where my attention and energy is going to now as a birth helper. And um, for me, it's like I still carry some guilt, I guess, with having to make those choices, those personal, well, having to choose who I'm going to focus on to support and help. And I don't know if it's because it was my position, right? My paid position that I came at it with a more, I don't know, to try to make sense of it, I guess, more trauma informed or what is that term? Yeah. So yeah, I have some experience. Well, a lot of my personal job experience with some of well, with that topic on substance use and pregnancy, and yeah, it's really sad. I agree with Jade, and I think it was Jade, right? When you were saying the long-term effects, because I see them
Mhm.
too as a support
Yes.
to the family and to the baby, and sometimes it's grandma or auntie who takes that role and wants that connection with baby because mom's not in a place to um, want to parent, but also seeing the other side of that where mom like that innate love for your child is stronger than the substance use disorder, and they go to treatment, or they, you know, um, go through their healing for the long haul, and they successfully parent. So I do see a lot of success stories as well. But yeah, right now I'm in a place where I have to make, well, I do make those calls for myself because there's just too many families and too many things going on. But prior to this past year, I had to help everybody. And um, I guess it's more of a um, who's engaging and who's taking accountability and who's taking those steps to their healing journey and their parenting journey. And that's all I want to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share on any of these? Okay. Not to beat a dead horse, but we're gonna beat this horse dead. Really, really looking at what's this bringing up for us. So re-examining our ideology, our bias, our baggage is not the same as carrying our wounds, right? Because when we get stuck in our wounds and this buzzword of woundology, we start internalizing that as part of our identity. Or if it gets really deep, then that starts internalized as like that victimology buzzword, where it starts reflecting how, or dictating, it actually starts, oh son, holy snaps, oh sorry,
That baby.
It actually starts dictating choices that we make as a midwife, and that can be very, very dangerous. It can be very physically dangerous for the midwife themselves. It can be very, very physically dangerous for the family. But it also can be very dangerous. The what's what's the thought I'm trying to speak, Twin? The tunnel vision. I'm thinking of a particular midwife, and I'm not trying to blast her name all over, but the tunnel vision in their bias, because it's no longer ideology, because in ideology, like, it changes, or there's this implication of it fluxing as you gain more experience, as you gain more knowledge, as you gain more self-awareness, your ideology will flux. But bias, they can kind of bore into you, and especially if it's wound driven, or this was done to me at the hospital, so I will make sure it's never done to anybody else that I give care for. That can be a really dangerous bias perspective.
Or if you use it as a marketing tool, like this midwife that Jane and I are thinking of. It is her wounds, her victimology are part of now her midwifery identity. And
I can make sure that this doesn't happen to you.
Right.
No, you can't.
Right. You really can't. And it's, I had a family that I just supported on Sunday, and they had roughly a 40% placental abruption while the baby was in the vault. And I've known this girl since she was 10. So there were all these other emotional attachments that I had with her, in this history that I had with her. And she said at the 24-hour appointment, I fully expected you to tell me more things to do. Get in this position, or get in that position, or do this or do that. She said, I thought that's what home birth midwifery was all about. And it's because her woundology, the impact of her hospital birth, where they made her do all of those things, she fully expected that I would package that up in a prettier thing and just ask her to do these things, or to give her some suggestions to do these things. And when I said to her, well, actually, how do you feel about not needing to be told to do any of those things? That I could actually observe you. I gave her some suggestions at the end. I made her get out of the pool. I made her put her leg a certain way. I made her hold her breath. I made her do some different things so that I could get baby out of there. But her actual laboring wasn't managed at all. And she said, I kind of liked it, but I'm low-key still terrified that what if I did something wrong during that? And what that is her wound from the impact of her last birth. Her last birth, her sister's births, the births that she hears about, the births that she reads about, they're still impacting her.
Mm-hmm.
And to a degree, they overshadowed her own birth, whether she realized it or not. And as midwives, there was a very strong blurring of those professional lines for me, because I've been at this girl's house. I wanted her to date my son. Like, we had, you know what I mean? I've known her for years and years and years, right? So there was a absolute disregard for certain aspects of professionalism. There are other peer reviews that would try to eat me alive over that and say that that is part of woundology. that I allowed the impact of our personal relationship to affect our professional one. And when I consult with families, I tell them I am not just in the business of catching babies. I'm in the business of building families. So here I am in some ways doing the same exact thing that this big platform midwife is doing, right? In a much smaller degree. I can acknowledge that part of my platform in midwifery is blurring those professional lines. I will likely become your baby's auntie. I may in fact know you long enough to catch your baby when you are a big grown up person, right? Like I've had those experiences where I've caught the baby of a baby I have caught, you know, because my business model has been building the family. It's something that I can spin in a positive aspect, but there is still a lot of negative connotation there amongst home birth midwives, particularly CPMs. Traditional midwives, they already know they're going to be auntie to those babies. They don't worry about it. They're aunties to those young moms, you know, sisters to those young moms. But amongst licensed midwives, you're going to catch that. And unfortunately or fortunately, your midwifery circle is likely not just going to be made up of traditional midwives. And is that going to be somewhat of a wound for you? Are you going to feel less than because you chose a different route than they did? Are you always going to have to be the one that speaks up, the one that feels like they have something to say, the one that feels like they got something to prove? That is your baggage party bus that we're going to try over the next couple of years to help you clear out and quit piling shit into it. But we also need some or desire some feedback from you guys. You know, what does this bring up for you? And notice that we didn't say, does this bring up anything for you? Because we're designed to talk about hard things. And so what is all of this bringing up for you all? And maybe it goes without saying to say that there's no judgment here.
Jump in, ladies.
That way I can finish my supper, guys.
Yeah. One way or the other, we're going to pull you into the deep end.
I mean, we can be like your horrible public school teacher and just call on you. Thank you, Pearl, for jumping in.
I feel like I'm in the deep end already with the sharks and I'm terrified.
Mhm.
And some of I think it makes me think about the hard lines of the things I'm not very familiar with. Like I just learned in this past month about home birth, breech and twins. And I have had some VBAC experience, never the 2VC, some with known substance abuse or use, and none, you know, so some of this I've had some experience with, but I think, you know, I'm starting to kind of these words, like understanding that they can be circular, that they can kind of be also very separate. And I think having those hard lines, having those bias and that ideology is really important to be aware of, especially with the baggage that we carry, the pain we carry from our lived experience, and being aware of how that shows up in our body, in the way we do our work, how we sit with families, so that we can, do that work to compartmentalize so that we're present with this family that has called us. And we've said yes to, right?
Yes.
All of those hard lines those boundaries we set up front and let the family know and communicate that this is how I work. This is how I can support you. And if this is not what you're looking for, I'm not the person for you. And vice versa, saying, having the courage to say, like, I'd love to support you, but I'm not the person for you. There's other people who probably can meet your needs, and I'm not
Actual
your
person.
person. Yeah, so I think that all of that brings this up for me. And I wrote a little poem, but I think I'll wait on sharing that and maybe put it in my essay or reflection after this. Just reflecting as we're listening to each other. I still feel like I'm coming into a functional headspace right now, because I just got done fasting, sundancing on Sunday, and I feel like I don't know what day it is, but I'm glad that I was able to get in today.
That's true. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Pro.
And please do submit it, because now I'm curious to read it.
Anybody else want to jump into deep end tonight? It's gonna feel more and more comfortable, and it's gonna not look as deep as it's getting deeper.
I don't know about jumping in the deep end, but like sticking my toe in is like, I think there's going to be things that we know about, and I think there's going to be things that we don't know about until like they're right in front of us. And I just say that because I remember when we were going through our training, when I did the doula training with Lennon, I had one mom who wanted to do that placenta encapsulation. And I thought, oh, I'll be open-minded, I'll be great. And it was like, no. And I tried to like put this no over here and continue to talk to her, because like all other ways she seemed really, really nice, and it seemed like a great family and a good opportunity, and like for both of us to learn. And it was just that she wanted to put her placenta into powder, into little pills, and she wanted to take those little pills, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. And I had to be the one to tell her, you know what, I don't think I can do this. Actually, you know what, I know that I can't do this. And I didn't know that I couldn't do it until it was right in front of me. And I had to ask someone else to take over for me. She had to be assigned another person to work with. And but the thing I couldn't tell her was how horrific it all was in my head, like of her wanting to do that. I couldn't tell her any of that. So I ended up telling somebody else, and it was just because it's like I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what it is, but it was just I didn't know. And like there's things listening to you guys that I know that I don't know. There's lots of things I don't know. But what I would like to have is like an idea of how to handle it, what it looks like, choices I have, so that when you get to that place where you might have like a little bit of a limbic shift or something, and you're not thinking clearly because it's like a surprise to you, I'd like to be able to have like certain check marks or checkpoints that I can go, okay, I know I need to do this, and I know I need to do this, and this is what's happening. I know exactly what's happening to me, and I can manage this. I can navigate through this. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Cheyenne. It's so funny that you brought that up, because it was shared earlier. I thought the same thing. I had it wasn't during our training, what, 8 years ago? Or I think it was maybe our first cohort. but it was a year or two. It was when I was in my current role and I was supporting mom. And she was one of my rare unicorns where there was none of that substance use, and she was really like wanting to learn and wanted to do the traditional stuff, but she wanted to do the placenta capsulation, the little pills too. And I too tried to be open to it. And I don't know if Melissa's listening, but I reached out to some of the traditional midwives, and because I wanted to learn, I wanted to be open to it. But my intuition was, oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, because I'm cutting out on this on my end. I want to be open to it, but my intuition, I don't know if it is because I came from I come from a hunting family. I was like, no, I could handle a lot of things, but it just seemed unnatural to me. Like it, mom. But I did reach out. I reached out to 3 traditional midwives and wonderful grandmothers that had some really great teachings. I think I reached out to Melissa first, and Millie kind of like, well, did you you could ask this one or this one. I was like, yeah, that's what I was thinking of doing. But yeah, that's, I think to this day, my intuition and myself, I too, or I'm at a place where I'm okay with, you know what, my teachings tell me this, and this is what I care, and being able to, not to maybe so much tell them, but have the answers and be more readily available or equipped to answer in a kind and informative way to what is Anishinaabe is, after reaching out to those traditional lives. And yeah, knowing that that's something I choose not to support in, I guess, or
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And later on in some of the other units, you will get both mine and Quincy's unfettered thoughts about it. But I went from a doula that would offer that as a service to a midwife that would only do it for my clients to a midwife that will actively convince my clients to not to. So yeah. Anybody else for tonight?
Well, I'll just add, my babies are in their late 50s and mid 40s. When I was pregnant, there was no such thing as placenta encapsulation. So when I started working as a doula, that was when I first heard about, the pills, eating it raw, freezing it, and whatnot. And so I did go ask some elders, and they said gawing. They said, no, we don't do that. And I thought, well, I'll just put that in the back burner, ask some other grandmas from different areas. Said no. And I continued to ask. And then finally, I said, I asked one more person, and then they said, no, that wasn't, we don't do that. That placenta needs to go back to the ground, needs to go back to Mother Earth. We have other things that will help her with what the placenta was going to do. There's other plants and that will take care of her wherever her needs are. So I quit asking. And so now I myself won't offer placenta encapsulation. I can't really do that at all because I wouldn't do it myself. So I would have to say no. And that will be my teaching for that.
Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you, Auntie. And I do, how I broach the subject, if someone asks me, I say, would you like my professional or my personal opinion? It's actually one and the same. However, my personal opinion is a little bit more, staunch no. And my professional opinion is pretty much a staunch no, but you can do what you want with your body part because it does in fact belong to you, but I will not be helping or facilitating you with any of that. And if you choose to encapsulate your placenta and then subsequently ingest it, then my postpartum care is going to be altered.
Mhm.
And that's usually enough to be like, oh, you feel that strongly about it. I'm like, yeah, this is white hippie nonsense. That's what this is. This is marketing. This is, you know, there is not a single native or Aboriginal culture that practices these things. And in Chicana culture, you might like I ate a piece of my placenta during one of my births because I was bleeding and I had no other things to stop the bleeding. But that was it. I rolled it up in that snappy tom and I drank it and I stopped bleeding. And then I left that alone, you know, and in those situations, that was taught to me from Mexican midwives. If you're ever alone and you're bleeding, this is a surefire fast way. But if I would have went to those abuelas and those tias and been like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm thinking of dehydrating this. I'm thinking of having someone else do it and paying them. And then maybe I'll get my placenta back. Maybe they have a clean kitchen. Maybe they have some things. If I would have said that to a Mexican grandma or a Mexican auntie, she probably would have just looked at me in disgust and walked away, which is like the very worst thing. You almost want them to yell at you because then they at least care about what you're doing. They're not completely disgusted by what you're doing by just turning around and being like, I can't deal with her. But I think that as you get further into the course, we're going to talk about specific scenarios like you were bringing up, Cheyenne. How do you recognize the situation that you're in? How do you know? Like I tell people that my brain is kind of like a Rolodex. I see something and there's like a little thing that flips into the front of my mind. Like it could be this, this, or this. Okay, if it's this, let's do all the things. If it's this, let's do the things. If that didn't work, let's do this. If that didn't work, let's do this. And you'll learn that through this course on how to use those lower resource settings to your advantage for the things that you might find. And our hope is that you'll come away with some of that, and you'll come away with a list of skills that you're going to have, and you're going to have your own personal Rolodex on how to deal with those things, but it starts with realizing that midwifery is more than just catching babies. It's more than just doing prenatal and postpartum care. It's examining all of these things about inventory that you're going to take into somebody's bedroom.
Anybody else tonight? Okay. So I do want to say though, or remind, during this next unit, if any of these reflections come up, and this is where building on the journal is coming up from, because now it's starting to make a little bit more sense why there is a first reflection of the unit and then another reflection at the end of the unit, because as you're going through these units and you're starting to stack that knowledge, your ideologies are going to change, your biases are going to change, your baggages are going to come up. I didn't know I had that baggage about twins until I was standing in the bedroom and CPAPing this baby, this twin. And I had no way to predict that. And then I had to examine it and deal with it. And so it's these, and these are
And
once
drive
again,
8 hours home and be
oh
on
yeah,
call.
yeah, at 4 weeks postpartum with my new baby, and my 2 girls were with me too. Um, and these are the things that we were talking about. These are the things that we wish we would have been taught how to do when we were thrust into rural midwifery, because I mean, I had a little bit of a lead time. I knew we were coming back to North Dakota, but I don't think Twinsy ever thought she was going to end up on a reservation in North Dakota.
I didn't think I was coming back to midwifery, guys. So
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't think I was coming back at all. I was happy to just be from homesteading homeschooler mom.
right. So we're really trying to stack your deck. We're really trying to start off your toolkit for yourself, because if it's not sustainable for you, then it's not sustainable for your family and your home. Then it's not sustainable for your community. So it really is about you first. So get out of the way, Twinsy. We're recording here. You're in the way.
Move me.
What's next? Okay, what's next? So, like I mentioned earlier, because we're still working out some of these kinks and, figuring out how we're working together too, and how we need to us as your teachers express our expectations more, or in a better way, more concise way. You're gonna have an opportunity to revisit the pre-call essay reflections. If you've already handed them in and you want to expand, you can. If not, you don't have to. If you didn't get a chance or weren't able to facilitate time, or whatever the reason, to get that in before the call, you can submit it in addition to your after call questions in 2 separate documents in the after call questions section. So there is now in Unit 1 a new section to submit the after call questions document. It looks exactly like the pre-call short essay document area, and that will be open for 48 hours. Then do your end of unit journaling reflection. If you have not yet established, done a check-in with the support staff, Dr. Jen, I encourage you to do that. Start that relationship, and maybe you don't use it until the really heavy units, but it's always there. And then access Unit 2 before the 30th of July. It will close. It's scheduled to close enrollment at midnight, July 30th midnight. Again, you don't have to get it done. This is a 9-week. Oh no, it takes us to week 9. It's a 5-week unit. So that takes us up to week 9. And get your shovels out. We're getting in deep now. And as soon as I close this, I will go straight into the platform, and I will publish Unit 2. I'm really hoping that because I added everybody manually in Unit 1, that it automatically pops up as a new course in the school. So that's my hope, that we're going to work out that one. But if some of you can hang around after we close this call, maybe 20-30 minutes, and see if it pops up for you, but I'm going to immediately go to it and publish. It's already, it's all set up. I just have to hit the publish button. And if you guys can let us know in the WhatsApp if you see it come up. Otherwise, I'll just go through and email it to you all again, and I'll figure it out next unit, I guess. We'll figure it out.
Eventually, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then to clarify, we're waiting to get an invoice before we pay, or we just have to pay by the end of the month?
You should be getting an invoice from Michelle, correct?
Yep. Ms. Michelle will be sending out invoices, and not by the end of the month, so 30 days from when she sends the invoice.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And then I've been nagging my mom every time that she tells me like, "Oh, hey, you got a package in the mail." I'm like, "Is it my books?" And it
Your
hasn't been-
books are in the mail tomorrow. The last,
Okay.
the last one of the books that I was waiting for came in today. So I've got my piles all ready to go to take them to UPS. So I'm going to UPS tomorrow, so I'll overnight them. We didn't get a response for the 4 that needed the reconceiving. Is that what it is? Midwifery?
Yep.
And I was able to find a site that, but those are not going to be able to come in until the end of the month. So, but you'll still have your 2 books that you'll receive. And once those other ones come in, then for the ones, there was only four of you that wanted that book. So
Okay.
you should
And that
get it
book's
by
not
the end of the
needed
month.
until unit 3. So you have
Yeah, plenty of
time
time.
for that one to
Yeah.
come through. For unit 2, it was the pick one list. So those will be on the way. There's a little bit of not a little bit. There's other work in unit 2 besides that what you need for that book. So don't feel like you won't have anything to do. Any other questions?
And I don't know how long it's going to take you guys up in Canada to get your books. So like Jade had said, if you can go to the library, or if you have a Kindle, I know sometimes these books are free on Kindle. But go to the library to get a book for now, if to get you going anyway. But even for the ones that are up in Canada, those are going to be overnight also, but that could still take time. It won't happen overnight, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But let me know when you do get them. You would. Thanks.
Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you, Auntie. Anything else for tonight? I don't want to leave anybody feel like they're dangling. So last call. Last call for questions, comments, reflections. No complaints. Don't hear complaints. No, joking. We'll take complaints later.
Email those privately.
Right. Okay.
One last thing, is office hours going to work for everybody? Going once, going twice.
Oh yes, last call. Let's see. Stop. Oh, I did it. Okay.
What true professional Zoom are you?
Right. I'm basically a millennial now. I'm a terrible
Look at you go.
All right. Well, with that said, wait to
Thanks
go
for your
stay,
time,
but
guys.
do not go with.
Yeah.
Have a great night, guys.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thanks, guys. Would a few of you
Thank
stay
you,
on?
you
Somebody,
too.
those of you that are more tech savvy, maybe?
Right. Doksha.
I can stick around for a couple minutes if you want me to.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you can.
I
Just those
am
of us
gonna
that are
open up unit 2 right now. Publish. Okay. All right. Publish.
okay. Let's see what I see.
Okay. Okay.
Of course is. Mine still says unpublished.
We'll refresh it then.
I did. I just opened it.
Let the
Okay.
zugs come back. Okay.
Hold
Try
on. I'm
again.
gonna hit publish.
I hit it already.
I hit it too. Now let's see what it does.
Oh, I see it. Purple
Yay!
bars.
Yes, purple flowers. It popped up right under for you.
Yeah.
It's there. Unit 2, History of Midwives, Masters of Physiological Birth.
Yay!
Okay.
Oh,
I don't see it yet.
There
Maybe
are,
the Wi-Fi is slow in Canada. Just kidding.
wait, but mine is saying that this course is closed for enrollment.
I think we're gonna have to manually add everybody.
hold
Jen.
on.
We're gonna
Hold
have to
on.
figure out
Hold-
how.
No, I refuse. I'm gonna figure this out. It's supposed to.
Cálmate,
No,
abrazos.
no.
I hope nobody knows Spanish here because I'm saying naughty things.
I don't know a lot, but I knew enough to ask for 2 more coffees when I was at the hotel this weekend because I ran
Oh.
up to, there was only decaf in my room and I had
Mhm.
overslept through the breakfast and I ran up to the housekeeping guy and I was like, can I get some more coffee? And I was like rambling super fast and he just looked at me like, no
¿Dónde
conoces.
está un
Yeah.
café?
And I was like, we had definitely had too much fun the night before, so my brain was not firing. But I just stood there and I was like, cafe. He's like, oh, see. And I was like, he handed me 2, and I was like,
Dámelo.
yeah. I was like, "Tu más?" So barely, not enough. Not
Barely.
even-
Okay, Shoshana, are you able to click on it?
Let me refresh. I clicked on it. It says it's closed for enrollment.
All right.
And then out of curiosity, should it be like, I don't know if everybody else's does, but mine says section title and then there's lecture name,
that's not
lecture
bad.
name, lecture name 3 times.
Mm-mm.
That's an example curriculum.
But that's just the example. And then
That's what it-
underneath that, that's where it says this course is closed for enrollment.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like last time I clicked on that like thing. But yes, mine still says this course is closed for enrollment.
Yeah.
Okay, it should have your page like you had it before. And then at
Yeah.
the bottom of it, it'll say open-ended question. Please upload your short essay response by week 6. Do one by week 8. Do one by week 9. There's a slot for each time we're trying to make it a little bit easier for you guys and for us to get these things up and edited.
Here, I'm gonna do this.
I wonder why does it say
Okay,
no
can you guys see?
users found?
So here's what it looks like for me. Published, and then here's what it's gonna look like. So same setup,
Yeah,
and then
we
you
don't
can
need
download it, and then Jade's office hours, my office hours next week, and then the open-ended, and then our next lecture call will be September 25th because that'll be week 9. Oh golly. This is how it should look in your guys on your end.
You want to see what I have?
Wait here. Preview student.
Yeah, where's my trying to see? Yeah. When you send the roles, when you
Yep, this is how it should look for you guys.
Okay.
No,
Ever?
no,
Like
yeah,
even-
the unit 1 didn't look like that.
Mm.
And I still only have unit 1. I have unit 1 on the laptop and I only have unit 1 on the phone. Like the app, the teachable app on the phone is only unit 1.
Oh,
then
I
the
can't use the app on mine. Like it never works for me.
Upgrade now. So those of you that have Apple, have you guys upgraded to the new student mobile app? That may be one of the things that we might find helpful, those of us that have fruit phones.
You weirdos.
I know, I know, I know.
Well, look at your page there. There's nobody enrolled. It says 0 enrollments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because we have to go click on it, right? To like enroll.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yep,
yeah,
I
when
have
we,
it same way.
when we click on it, it really just goes to that like example page. And
Yeah.
then I don't remember the last one saying this course is closed for enrollment. Like I feel like I clicked on there and then it just kept taking me in like a loop. But there was something I could click on that example page. But right now, not so much.
I'm gonna click all of our students.
We're just gonna do the
And
same thing.
bulk actions. Enroll in course,
No,
select course.
no,
Why not?
no, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to me.
Oh. All right, somebody go check it out.
Well, now it says I have 13 enrollments.
Yes. Look at me, millennialing.
But that worked because it but then it tells me the curriculum is empty. The author has not added any sections and lessons to this course yet.
Yep.
What the heck?
But that did
Yes.
change something because then it told me like 0%. Then it made it look more like the first one where it showed like percent complete, whatever.
Hey, Jane, you try to add them,
Well, you added them.
but clearly I did not because it doesn't show me as authoring. Oh, I wonder because can we add both of us to the authorship? Try to click that. Click on everybody. Okay, now go up to the right and click add students. Shivade.
Huh?
No, not that one.
Mm.
Okay. Enrolled in a specific course. Yeah. That should be it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Why is it wanting you to export?
I don't know.
Oh, go to bulk action. Mira. Go to bulk action. See that little bulk action kind of on the bottom towards the left? Now do that and roll in course. Select course.
Not clicking.
Okay, we might have to unenroll everybody first.
I don't know where your sister is. Leave me alone. I'm trying to.
Hold on.
Oh,
Eres
I
so
see you
fast,
need to now.
Okay, hold on. Um, we have to unenroll everybody?
No, go away.
Shivava, do we have to unenroll everybody?
I don't know.
Hang on. How did I get there? More options. No, I don't want to do any of those options. What? Hold on. So try to unenroll them all. Okay, hold on. What?
Still won't let me click. Oh, what? Come back.
Hold on.
Guys, I want to stay and help, but it's past my bedtime. I'm wishing
No, you're
you
fine.
all the
Okay.
best luck.
Yeah.
We're
Thanks.
gonna figure it out. I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be there. So, okay, bye.
Let's hope so. Okay, hold on. How did I do that? Did I go into general? I should already be on that part. Okay, hold on. Here, mírate. Let's go bulk actions. I'm gonna unenroll everyone and you try to enroll them, okay? You wanna do that?
Hold on.
Okay, so I unenrolled everybody. Try to re-enroll them. Oh, go back. Yeah, there we go. So click on bulk actions. Click on enroll.
See, but this box isn't clicking for me.
Why not?
I
It
don't
doesn't let you select a course?
know.
Oh, that's stupid because you're the author of said course.
No.
All right, hang on. I'll re-enroll everybody.
Dirty truck.
Dude, whatever. It doesn't, when you click on it, on the little arrows on the far right, it doesn't pop up for number 2?
Nope.
Oh, did you just do it?
This is the same way that it's been looking.
But that cannot be because I just unenrolled everyone.
So I'm saying there's some miscommunicado.
Oh, now it's
So
gone back to
Cheyenne,
that weird banner of all their example banner stuff.
Okay, so yeah, because she just unenrolled everybody, so that's probably why. Ow, boogers.
Okay. So okay, so now okay, so go into users and students and we'll try to do it again. And I have a couple of emails into them. If they ever get back to me, I'll ask them why this is not a.
Why is there stuff stupid?
Well, why does it give you the option of having other owners and then not allowing it to be a thing? So, Mirate, go down into students, I think, and then click on that top 3 bars by students, right? Okay, students.
My whole student list doesn't show up now anymore. Dumb.
Okay, why is that happening? Okay. Go to users.
Hold on. Maybe I'll do this.
Students.
And now maybe I'll do this. That do anything? Do one of these.
Users. Okay. So publish. Mira, go up to users, right? Hey, Chivado, it's showing my one of 13 students.
Oh, was someone able to open it?
It just goes back and forth between the banner and this curriculum has no content.
Yeah.
Go down to students, Jane, I think. Try to
Trying.
enroll everybody
My
on your
cookie's
end.
not clicking there. No clicks.
Why does it clicky?
I don't
Why is
know.
it saying that? All right, so go back. No, that's stupid. That one's done. Oh, back one more. Get out of the course and go up to the far left where the little user, keep going up. So it's courses, settings, something, yeah, hit user.
Okay.
Now go to
Huh.
bulk action.
Just checking on her. Oh, let me see. Okay. Oh, whoops. That's not what I meant to do. It doesn't click. This box does not click for me.
What the heck?
I don't know.
Okay, hold on. Well, I'll try
Urgh.
to add everyone. Let's enroll everyone and let's see. I wonder, hold on. I know what I might have done. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna try to unpublish it on my end and then we'll do it again in reverse. Only students with existing access to this course.
Oof.
I'll load it all. Okay, now you go into your users.
You're still recording.
I'm recording?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
I hope nobody Google translates all the Spanish I was saying earlier. Stop us recording, young bear. I'm totally
No.
saying naughty words everywhere. Okay, so now try to enroll those students.
Dude, this box does not click that I can select a course.
Did you click it on the right on the little arrows?
Do you hear how hard I'm hitting my tablet?
Yes, I hear.
Says the curriculum is empty.
All right, I'm gonna have to try to do this. I don't know why. I wonder if we
Maybe
can.
what if I don't know.
Hold
It
on,
shouldn't
I'm
be like
gonna log
this.
out of it
This
all
is
the
gonna be
way.
so 1990s, but everybody log out.
Yeah.
Log out.
Shit,
Okay.
and then everybody log in.
Yeah, reset your computer. Control Alt Delete.
Unplug
Do we
the
still have to?
unplug the modem, count for 3 seconds. Remember how we used to do that
That's right.
shit?
Oh yes.
Wait for all the lights to turn green.
Oh,
Then you
frickin'
plug in
heck,
the
yeah. Then you plug in the modem into the wall and then the modem into your computer.
if only 3 of them are green, you unplug the power cord. Then you plug it back in.
We're gonna give Millicent an aneurysm. She'd be like,
What do you mean? What do you mean? Probably another one.
yeah. She's gonna be Googling what a chavado is. Don't do it, Auntie.
I heard everything.
I'll have you know that that is not regular Spanish. So unless you're from the calle, you don't know what
Get
I'm talking about.
inspired.
You might be able to pick up my context, but you probably will not know that a chavado is worse than a gabacho, which is like the worst thing that you could say about somebody, and be kind. But like a chavado is like a deadbeat dad. Except for that you're a woman. So
Okay. I'm gonna go to bed.
okay. All right. Good night, you
Good night.
guys. Thank you
I'm
for
going to-
staying on
Good
and
night.
trying. Hopefully
We'll
in the
figure it
morning
out.
we will have it figured out.
Okay.
So
Good night.
I appreciate you. Good night, Auntie. Good
Thank
night.
you.
It's always good to see your smiling face.
Good night.
Good night. We love you. Young Bear.
Love you. Oh, yeah,
Love
love
you.
you.
We just recorded this whole thing.
No, I didn't. I stopped
It
recording.
says recording still.
Oh, whatever.
Well, whatever. They'll be fine. All right.
Mine
I love your
says
guts.
record-
I'll talk to you
Oh shit!
tomorrow.
It says recording.
I told you.
I can cut it. Whatever. I can cut it, can't I?
It's fine, whatever. If you can't, whatever.
Maybe.
They
I
can
don't know.
just
Okay. Good night.
know that a chavado is a gabacho that's a woman. So it's fine. You just recorded it again.
You opened your big fat mouth again.
That is not how that works.
Oh.
All right, I'll play with this for a little bit, and
Okay.
and
I
then
gotta
we'll see
turn
what
on the
happens.
stuff, and I can, if it's not working, I can mess around with it too.
All right, cool, yo. I love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Love you, night.
Okay, bye.
Bye.